Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this second day of the 2020 Translating Europe Forum from wherever you're logging in. For those of you who didn't tune in yesterday, let me introduce myself. I'm Aminda Lee, a British-Italian moderator and journalist, and also I have a small translation agency. I'm logging in from Rome today, and the weather report is still cloudy. Before we start, a reminder that interpretation is available in German, Italian, French, Spanish, and Polish. Check out the Europa webpage where you registered for the event for details on how you can access the interpretation. We start the morning with our second keynote speech, after which there will be plenty of time for your questions. So please do send them in and vote for your favourites, as we'll be going for the most popular ones first. And of course, feel free to tweet about what you hear using the hashtag 2020TEF. On this second day of the forum, we'll be having sessions and panel discussions about platform technology and how professional platforms can help build a resilient translation industry during and after COVID. Those are both coming up this afternoon. While this morning, after our keynote speaker, there'll be a session on translating for online interaction. Then today's program also includes 2 more sets of virtual networking, which I'll tell you about later. We're going to start the day in a kind of twilight zone with an intriguing mystery we hopefully will be able to crack once we've heard our keynote speaker, Rik VERA. He's partner and CEO of nexxworks and advisor to BOL.com. His background is a successful manager in major global manufacturing companies. Before then, he became a coach, advising and helping large tech companies. And over the last 10 years, he's been globetrotting as a speaker and lecturer, specializing in digital transformation with a strong customer focus. He speaks 6 languages: Flemish, French, English, Swedish, Spanish, and Italian. And while we were chatting in preparation for this keynote, he revealed that he'd studied neurological science at MIT with Noam Chomsky, who of course is also famous for his theories on language. Today, logging on from near Brussels, Rik VERA is here to set you a challenge to crack the magic formula for the day after tomorrow. C2MxEi. Rik, please tell us more.
This was most probably the most overwhelming introduction I've ever had. So thank you very, very much. And let's deep dive now into my content. I've written a book in 2018. It's called Manage the Day After Tomorrow. But it's about extreme customer centricity. But if I would have written extreme customer centricity in the title of my book, then most probably business unit managers or business managers or CEOs wouldn't have read the book. Because if you put customers in the title, they give it to their sales department or they give it to their marketing department. So I kind of tricked them into reading my book by quoting them in the title, Manages the Day After Tomorrow. But today I'm going to talk about the magic formula, which is the subtitle of my book. And that says, connect to many, engage individuals. If you, as a company, can connect to many people, but at the same time engage individuals, then you can never be disrupted. And I'm going to try to explain today why I do believe that interpretation, translation, or whatever you call it, is something that is not going to disappear in the future. On the contrary, I think it's going to be more important than ever before in this new normal. And when you write a book about Manages the Day After Tomorrow, the first question I usually get is, what is that day after tomorrow? What is it going to look like? And this is my very short answer. The day after tomorrow is the never normal. I hear too many people talk about the old normal and the new normal, and then there's discussions about what is the old normal and what is the new normal. The best answer is there is no new normal. There is always a old normal and always a new normal. We are in the never normal. And why are we in the never normal? It is not because of this thing, the virus. The virus didn't break the system. The virus just exposed that the system was already broken. It already happened. And maybe we can write down in our diaries in retrospect, the Maya were right. You know, the Maya. The Maya calendar said that the world would end on the 21st of December in 2012. And I think it happened. I think that the world tipped over from the old normal into something that's not there yet, the birth of a new normal somewhere in the future. And that happened on the 21st of December in 2012. And we didn't see it happening. COVID-19 was nothing more than a wake-up call. And the wake-up call was this: stop to party like it was 1999, to quote Prince. Because the world has changed. The world has changed dramatically since 1999. So if you or companies still run the business in the same way as they did in 1999, they're in deep shit. This virus came on planet Earth in 2012. And the virus is more important than this virus right now. And that virus had a name. And the name was zombie virus. We all turned into smartphone zombies. These have become the three biggest fears of our zombie generation. The smartphone zombies are afraid to run out of battery power, because if you run out of battery power, you run out of life. Even my dad, and my dad is 83, is turned into a zombie. And I did it. 3 years ago, he turned 80. Yep. And he was a solution to my problem. My problem was I wanted a new smartphone, but my old one was still pretty much okay. So then you try to find a victim. And I'm pretty sure that a couple of you recognize that. You try to find a victim. You try to find the one and only last non-zombie in your family. In my case, that was my dad. So I gave him my old smartphone. He opened up the package and he said, I'm never going to use that thing. I still have this good old Nokia, and this is good enough. Now, during COVID-19, he has really discovered the power of his smartphone. He's on Instagram. He's on WhatsApp. He runs his life out of his smartphone. No, he even tries to run my life out of his smartphone because he has produced a family WhatsApp. Bad idea. Never allow your 83-year-old dad to run your life out of the smartphone. We have turned into this. The Homo sapiens. Online has merged with offline, and offline has merged with online. We are the generation that went online like once or twice a day. But now, and I don't have to ask you, you're constantly online. And that means that your online world is influencing your offline world all the time. So there's no two worlds anymore. It has melted down into one world. Online has merged with offline. We have entered, and Aminda already said it, we have entered what I love to call the twilight 20s. The zone in between the old normal, that is dying, and that happened on the 21st of December in 2012, and the new normal that's not born yet. The twilight 20s, the zone of monsters and creeps, the zone that keeps us awake at night. Like this guy, Jamie Dimon. Jamie Dimon is the CEO of JP Morgan Chase, big American bank. He's the best paid CEO in the United States. In 2015, which is already 5 years ago, he suddenly said, I lay awake at night. He did the press release, he did the press conference, and he wrote a letter to his shareholders saying, I lay awake at night. And then you think, oh, he lays awake at night because of a bank crisis, because of world economic crisis. No, he says, I lay awake at night because of the startups in Silicon Valley. The startups in Silicon Valley are eating Wall Street's lunch. The new world, those startup companies are eating the old world. Then there's something seriously going on. And he said, we made 3 major mistakes. The first mistake that we made is that we have underestimated the impact of the digitization of the whole society. As such, there's a new customer. You, over there, and we are a different type of customer than we were in 1999. And he says we as a bank have underestimated the power of that new customer. And especially we have underestimated the speed of change. We did not see it coming. Come on. 2015. How can the best paid CEO, base salary $32 million on a yearly basis, how can you say in 2015 we didn't see the digital tsunami coming? You must have missed the internet. 1995, the internet came in our lives. You must have missed the wave of social media in 2005. You must have missed the wave of the platforms in 2010. Was he blind? No. I call that the beach chair model. Just imagine that this is your business model. Putting and renting beach chairs on this overcrowded beach in Rimini, Italy, because that's where the picture was taken. What you do is every morning you wake up and you try to wake up a little bit earlier than competition and steal an extra row. And then you increase your market share. And once you've increased your market share, you're locked up in your business model. Smaller chairs, put them closer together, buy them in China, give them fancy colors, operational excellence. When you're into operational excellence, you forget to scan the environment and you do not see the wave approaching your beach, the tsunami approaching your beach. And when a tsunami is approaching your beach get wider. And the only thing that your brain is going to tell you is to put more beach chairs on the beach, because the only thing that you're going to see is more sand. And then when you look up and you see that wave approaching your beach, you're going to say, you know what? I'm going to deal with it when it happens. I don't think so. The only thing you can do when you're still on the beach, when the tsunami is hitting your beach, is to scream and run. So I urge every company not only to go into operational excellence, but also to install a couple of Baywatch people in the organization, to have your Baywatch team that overlook the ocean. And from time to time, they see a wave, and that wave doesn't become a big one. So it is false alarm. It doesn't turn into a tsunami, because this is what you want to avoid, that you're still on the beach when the tsunami is hitting your beach. And these are the waves that you really have to watch very closely, the orange ones, the waves that are growing and growing and growing, like the internet 1995, that was not dangerous, but in the end, it has changed the whole society. So you have to have a couple of people that overlook the ocean and watch the orange waves, that are busy with this question. Now, this question is not what you think it is. It's not what it is. What is the future? You have to be busy with what is the future. And your future is not in your today. Your future is happening right here, right now. I mean, in 1995, we had the internet. In 2005, we had the social media. In 2010, we had the platforms. And right now, and it's happening right here, right now, it's a combination of big data, artificial intelligence, and robotization. And that impact is going to be as huge as the impact of the internet. It is already happening. The way you drive, what you pay, who you talk to, who you listen to, what we believe, even who we vote for, is being influenced by big data, artificial intelligence, and robotization. It happened in the American election in 2016. It's happening right here, right now as well. So this is already in our lives. Companies, most of the things that companies do that are complicated will be replaced by artificial intelligence in between now and 2025. So it is happening right here, right now. The future is in data-driven algorithms. Data-driven algorithms are going to change the whole society, because it's going to be devastating. All businesses are going to do the same. They're going to be collecting data, processing data, and activating data. It's all about data. Creating mass personalization is what we're going to try to do. Create mass personalization. All companies are going to try to do the same, to create well-being for you as an individual, to create your personal running shoes, to create your personal food, to create your very personal medicine. But if you think about it, if it's about you and you personally, then all companies are going to gather the same data to create well-being for the same customer. That means that all companies and all industries are going to melt down into one gigantic red ocean, all trying to do the same. A gigantic, bloody red ocean. So if there's one book that we have to burn, and I'm not into burning books. It is the blue ocean strategy, because there's no blue oceans left anymore. We have to go for the red ocean strategy. And there's a couple of large companies that are already ready for that bloody red ocean. The white sharks like Google, Amazon, Facebook, Alibaba, they're waiting for this red ocean, and they're waiting for companies to end up in that red ocean, because then those companies are going to be very vulnerable. So let's talk about the things that did not change. The old normal. The only thing is it's being flipped upside down. The old normal. The old normal is this. We have a ultimate choice. Either get Kodak or Uberize. And what is Uberization? That is turning the downside up. Not think that digital is something out of this world. I mean, something the other world. No, it has become our world. We have turned into Homo sapiens. If we find out who killed Kodak, then we know what we need as our guiding star in this twilight zone. Kodak had invented digital photography. But first of all, they had created this perfect product, the roll film, and they thought perfection is what we need. If we go for perfection, people will still use our product, no matter what. They thought digital is not going to make it to the consumer market. This is what they said. This is what you're going to do for the rest of your life. If you want to experience good old film roll photography, this is an app. You can download this app on your smartphone. And if you download this app on your smartphone, KD Pro, you turn your smartphone into an analog camera. That means that you can only see that picture on that small screen. And then it disappears on your film roll, and you have to wind it, and then the counter says 22, and only if the counter says 0 you can look at your pictures. No, you have to wait for 4 more days because they need to be developed. And if you then want to share your pictures in your social media, you cannot. Why? Because they're analog pictures. You cannot share analog pictures in a digital environment. And then this came in your life, this shit product, 1.3 megapixel. It was no good, not good at all. But you traded a perfect product, the roll film, for a completely inferior product. Why? Why? Why did you kill Kodak? Not digital killed Kodak, you killed Kodak. And you not only killed Kodak, you also killed Nokia, because you had that good old Nokia. And nevertheless, you traded it for that smartphone, the iPhone in 2007, 2008. And what was your motive? Your motive was this. You want your interface, and the interface is way more important than the product, to be fast, easy, accessible, simple, and tempting. This is, what are you? As a translator, in most of the cases, you're the interface. So make it fast, make it easy, make it accessible, make it simple, and make it tempting. And then you can never be disrupted. Companies need to focus on the interface. People want their interface not only to be a feast, but also to be in tune with their digital world. We all want the same. My product, my service at the right moment, using the right channel, using even the right tone of voice, or I kick you out. It's as simple as that. We all know this. This is research being done by Deloitte worldwide, 35,000 respondents. People do not like broken conversations. People do not like not to be recognized. People do not like poor experiences as a customer. And people want it hyper-personal. One size fits none. And remember this. Every customer can be your patient zero. Every customer can make or break a company. Now, what do you need to remember? It's easy. Whatever company you're in, whatever profession you do, we're all in the same industry. We're all in the sex industry. Sex with a C of customer experience. And customer experience is one-on-one related with the other sex, customer expectations. None of us want your customers to say, with you, I had bad sex. And what is bad sex? That is not meeting my customer expectations. Most companies are happy with this. Boring sex. I expected something, you gave it to me, so what? I paid for it. We're all looking for this. Exceptional sex. Good sex. It is exceeding my customer expectations. I had a good time. Thank you. That's what you want to hear from your customers. And that is why the NPS score, the Net Promoter Score, is so important. If you really have delighted customers, they will service as your sales and marketing department. This is what everybody wants. If you look at yourself as a customer, this is what you want. You want to be recognized. You want to be listened to. You want to be helped. Motivate me, share with me, reward me, value me, inspire me, change me. Leave me alone when I want to be left alone. I want to be the center of the universe. We have to know our customer better than we know our company and our products and our services. Most companies know exactly what they want to sell to customers, but they don't know the customer. It should be the other way around. It should start with the customer in the center of the universe, because what people remember of a company is not what you do, it's not what you say, it's to how you make them feel. So we should not start with product or services and then go and look for customers. No, we have to start with customers. What do they want? And how can we create the best solution for that? Start with the original problem. Start with the business model, with the customer as the center of whatever you do. And don't turn it into a process, because then you make exactly the same mistake. You make the mistake of one size fits all, and one size fits none. Not every child loves this McDonald's clown. If every customer is different, then if your company has 1,000 customers, 10,000 customers, do you have to build 10,000 companies? No. This is where the magic formula comes in. Connect to many and engage individuals. Connect to many, but you don't have to build as many companies as you have customers if you can crack this magic formula. And it's got to do with big data, artificial intelligence, and robotization. The more customers you have, the more data you can gather, and the better you can feed your artificial intelligence to do clever stuff for every single individual customer. It's as simple as that. And there's companies that already do that. Whoever is on Spotify, everyone has got his very own, very personalized Spotify. So Spotify is using big data of all their users to create mass personalization, connect to many, engage individuals. This is the future normal. And what is the future normal? The future normal is a formula that every company can crack. First of all, it's technology first. We live in a technology-driven world. Technology is the way to make your interface a feast. And technology is the way to be in tune with your completely digitized Homo sapiens, we, customer. So the second is red ocean strategy. No more blue oceans. And what is the red ocean strategy? That not make the Kodak mistake. Do not fall in love with the solution, but fall in love with the original problem. Hunt customer frustrations and try to turn customer frustrations into customer delight. And if you have delighted customers, then they become engaged customers. I still love this picture. This is the previous American elections, 2016, Hillary Clinton running for president, becoming the background for people's selfies. But it's not what it seems it is. It was Hillary Clinton that asked people to take a selfie because people share selfies. And she is using the power of engaged customers, just like this guy. Elon Musk of Tesla has never spent one single dollar on classical marketing because he uses us, the crowd, as his sales and marketing department. And that's exactly what companies like Uber and Airbnb do with customers. They even use customers as the infrastructure. Who checks the quality of Uber or Airbnb or whatever other online product? Us. So we service as a sales and marketing department, and we service as the infrastructure for free of charge. So it's technology first, red ocean strategy, engage customers. And the last E stands for ecosystems. Now I'm going to zoom into the power of ecosystem. I think that the future is going to be extremely customer-centric, smart ecosystems. Why? Smart as in good for people and planet. Smart as in data-driven. What all companies are going to try to do is to be like a human body. Just imagine that I take this cup of coffee, but it's boiling hot. Luckily, I've got sensors in my fingers. My fingers are stupid, but they sense. They sense data, and they send those data to my brain. That's my platform. And they're using my nervous system to send data to my brain. And only in my brain, those data are being transformed, processed into information. And then my brain sends that information back to my hand using that same nervous system. And then my hand becomes an application. My hand says, oh, burning hot, let go. And that is exactly how a company should work, how an ecosystem should work. So in an ecosystem, you have to have the infrastructure, my body. You have to have sensors, the senses. You have to have a platform, the central brain. You have to have a network that makes sure that data and information can travel fast. And you have to have applications. What do you do with your infrastructure to make customers happy or to do something business to business? That is how ecosystems work. So I urge all companies to decompose their existing business model. In most of the cases, that's still the business model of 1999, and recompose them into the building blocks for a new ecosystem business model canvas. And then look at the situation as is and what you want to be by 2030, 2035 to be ready for a completely ecosystem world, a completely red ocean. And then analyze the gap and start to work on that. Start to work especially on the interface, because it's the interface that's the most important. That's what we learned from Kodak. And to build the right interface is about turning customer frustrations into customer delight. That is what the company should do on a daily basis. Turn customer frustrations into customer delight. Now, why is an ecosystem there? An ecosystem is there not to make money. An ecosystem is there to survive. And an ecosystem means that everybody that participates to the ecosystem has to make sure that they contribute to the survival of the ecosystem. And that means that in an ecosystem, there is no winner or no loser. And what holds an ecosystem together in the future? It's all about data. And I keep repeating data, data, data. We have entered the twilight zone. And instead of being afraid of the twilight zone, I call it the zone of endless opportunities. But then we have to get rid of what I love to call the Chernobyl syndrome. If you ever have the opportunity to watch this dark series about those devastating events in the good old USSR back in 1986, then if you watch that episode, and if the episode reminds you of the environment where you work, scream and run. Because what you see is an environment that's top down, streamlined, avoiding risk, management by command, in a strict hierarchy, misalignment between the pillars, and based on assumptions. And then you think this is about Chernobyl, and it's not. It's about the Nokia culture and why Nokia failed on the war over smartphones. It's a study run by Aalto Business University in INSEAD that says it was the wrong culture. It's the Chernobyl culture, top-down, streamlined, avoiding risk, management by command, but especially based on assumptions. Assumptions in fast-changing times, in twilight zones, kill businesses. We need more passionate curiosity. And I do a plea, absolute plea, to think about how can I enhance the curiosity of my organization? How can I enhance my own curiosity? Because we will need no assumptions, but curiosity in this fast-changing twilight zone. It's the surfer mindset. That wave is not, it doesn't start like the tsunami. It doesn't start like a tsunami. It starts like a wave. And instead of waiting on the beach, we have to be a surfer. We have to love the big waves. We have to work hard to get on top and understand them. We have to have the guts to surf those new waves. And we can only learn to surf the waves when we're on top of the wave. So how do you get started? I do a plea for all companies, not only to go for passionate curiosity, but also to start collecting data, data, data. Now, people ask me, hey, Rik, if it's all about technology, if it's all about big data, artificial intelligence, and robotization, and when you're in the translating business, is that thing, that artificial intelligence, going to steal my job? No. As I already said at the beginning, it's not going to happen. AI, artificial intelligence, that terminology, intelligence, was the biggest historical mistake ever. I mean, I already said I studied with Noam Chomsky. Noam Chomsky was so opposed against that term, intelligence. It's not intelligent. Yeah, it is artificial, but it's not intelligent because it cannot understand humans. It cannot understand what is a clever thing. I mean, if you develop something that does clever stuff for me as a person, it need to be people that understand what is clever for people, what is well-being for people. And artificial intelligence cannot understand that. So it's not only a matter of how was the artificial intelligence trained, because most of the artificial intelligence on the market for the moment are being trained in Asia. But if you apply them in Europe, we all know that the European mindset, if you want to read a good book about it, is Geography of Thought. We have a different mindset. We have a different way of thinking. So if your artificial intelligence is being trained with Eastern data, then it doesn't fit into Europe. It doesn't fit into the Americas. How good can it collect small data? How good can it understand humans? And how fast can it learn? These are all questions that we have to answer. We cannot live with artificial intelligence like an alien, which is a black box. So, is it clever? Yeah, it can outrun us. It can beat us in poker like crazy. I mean, we thought that poker was a human thing, but artificial intelligence is way better in playing poker than humans because it's a numbers game. But that same artificial intelligence doesn't even know it has one. It can't have a beer at the bar after winning the poker game and brag about it. That's not possible. So it's not intelligent. The interaction with humans, which is the most important in creating well-being, is not something that an artificial intelligence can do. What is really important and what is really still going to be human, I think, for the rest of our lives, is problem solving, collaboration, creating, reflecting, get going, taking initiative, critical thinking, persistence, service mentality, and get real. These are all very typical human elements. And the more we digitize the world, the more those will become utterly important. So we need to involve people. Also, when you build an ecosystem, the best sensors are still people. The best platforms are still the brains of people. The best networks are still people. The best interfaces, you guys, are still people because we do it for people. So the paradox of the digitization is the more we digitize the world, the more it becomes human to human. These are the professions of the future. I do quite a lot for Google. I do quite a lot for Amazon. I do quite a lot for IBM. And I can tell you, even companies like Google Interface are hiring anthropologists, psychologists, ergonomists, economical people, people that are into philosophy like crazy. Why? Because they are creating artificial intelligence, they're creating aliens, and they have to make sure that aliens can work with people. I love this guy, this Jack Ma, and Jack Ma is the CEO, the former CEO of Alibaba. And he said, if you want your company to operate with wisdom, with care, then women are the best. We need that human aspect. We need that soft touch because companies need to be able to answer the most important question ever. And the most important question ever is, what would my customers miss if I would not be there? If you can answer that question, then you're always safe. Hey, you're translators. I'm on stage quite a lot, or I used to be on stage quite a lot. And I've learned to really appreciate the profession of a good translator. Because when you're in a country, and I'm talking like this, at this speed, and you do not have the right translators, interpreters, forget it. So you always can answer this question. What would my customers miss if I would not be there? They would miss most of the speech. So you will always have a job. And the job, I can tell you, will become more important in the future. Companies need to focus on this. Companies need to be honest, ethical, authentic, take their responsibility, and be transparent. They need to show their heart. I can tell you in digital times, this human to human touch will become more important than ever before. Now, we're almost at the end of the keynote. The end of the keynote is this. When the world is dying, it's not following the script that is going to make it happen. We are the generation, and we should be lucky, that is going to write the new script. We're going to write the future. The future is not there. The future is not a door that you can open and you walk into the new normal. It's up to us to write the new normal. And there's never been a better moment than right here, right now. When the world comes to a standstill, when the virus exposes that the system was already broken, then this is the moment to start writing the script. We have to do the Cinderella principle. I'm a granddad. I've got grandchildren of 5 and 3, and then you rediscover the Disney movies. And I was watching Cinderella with one of my grandchildren. At a certain moment, the fairy godmother says, "Hey, Cinderella, don't look at things as they are, but look at the things as they can become." That's exactly what we need to do. That's the mindset. We have to look at things as they can become, and then start to write how they can become. It's an open market. There are no specialists yet. It's full of low-hanging fruit, and the entry costs, because it's only about data, are low. Think big, start small, and move extremely fast. Don't wait for it to happen. Make it happen. Do not follow your dreams, but chase them. And feel free to follow me. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Rik. Wow. Gosh, there was so much in there. I really don't know where to start. I think, one of the last things you were talking about was the training and artificial intelligence. And just a point to remember that actually in the translating field, it's actually flesh and blood translators, human translators, and their materials that have been used to train the artificial intelligence. So that was one thing. I've got a few more things to mention, but we've actually got quite a few question and answer for you. So I'd like to go straight on to them. The top voted question so far has been sent in by Stavrula. It has 13 votes so far, and it says, in our world, in other words, translation, customers want seamless communication among all languages. How can translators rise to this demand, and how can linguists, cultural experts reinvent themselves? Ooh, that's a big one.
Yeah, that's a very big one. If I would know the exact answer, then I would give it to you. I think that if it's about reinventing yourself, it's about and the start of the question. I love the start of the question is it's about trying to find the original problem. What was the original problem? What problem are we solving? And if you think about the original problem, then you might come up with, can we service this original problem in a better way than the classical way? Is there a better solution? How can we use digital? How can we use big data, artificial intelligence to help us in that? It's not, artificial intelligence is not a threat. It is not the enemy. It's not something that is going to replace you, but it's going to be a very, very, very good colleague that is going to help you in trying to make that experience even more seamless than ever before. How exactly you're going to do that, then I would go and deep dive into the original problem and do a workshop, a design thinking workshop together with you. And then maybe we could come up with some ideas that we can experiment. But I think that the question, asking the question and being curious about can we do it better, that is the basic attitude. The basic attitude should always be never fall in love with the solution and always try to keep the solution sharp and think, oh, is there no way we can do it better than this? And if you do it better, do it the San Francisco way, do it the Silicon Valley way, 10x. We in Europe, we tend to go for 20% better, 10% better. Forget it. In San Francisco, they say if we can't do it 10 times better, then we should not even try to do it. So that's think big and think, how can we really make this better?
Interesting what you say, though. Also, in the light of, let's say, a lot of people who are following this conference are maybe freelancers who don't really have the ear of the bosses to make this big impact.
Yeah.
How can they, in the situation they're in, how can they have a say and make a difference?
I think I'm a big believer in, and one of the chapters in my book is about the pirates. I'm a big believer in pirates in an organization. It's never real change in a company does not come from the top of the company, because in most of the cases, the top of the company is very much into operational excellence. It's their purpose is to make the day-to-day business running. I think that good companies allow the pirates within the company. One of the things I usually ask companies, if just imagine an 18-year-old Elon Musk knocking on your door and saying, I want to work for your company, would you hire him? Most companies would not even hire, they would not recognize the talent. And then if you would hire him, and if he would have had the opportunity to work in your company for like 2 weeks, would he still be working in your company? Or would he have ran away screaming, I don't want to work here? But just imagine he wants to work there. Would you have allowed him to change your business from within? No. So I think that companies need pirates. And if companies do not allow the pirates in the company, then the company is never going to be adaptive to change. So I urge everybody, dare to be a pirate. If you see that something can be better, be the pirate. If it's not allowed within your company, sorry to say that, but then you're most probably not working for the right company. You're working for a dinosaur that's going to die in the end. And that dying might take another 5 years or another 10 years, but the company is going to die. Companies need to allow pirates. So do you want to be in the army or do you want to be a pirate? That's your ultimate choice.
Okay, I don't think anyone's ever asked me that in a job interview, but
I do all the time. Do you want to work? I mean, it's not my quote. It was Steve Jobs when he started Apple. That's what he said. Do you want to work for the? Do you want to be an officer in the army or do you want to join the pirates?
Okay, now let's go to a question that's had 9 votes, which was sent in from Ellen. There'll be 2 different ecosystems, the personal and the mass one, as usual. People are getting tired of fast. Your ecosystem is for huge companies, not necessarily for smaller companies who want to stay small. Do you agree?
Oh, no, I don't agree. I'm writing this new book, and it's even called Little Book of Little Ecosystems. I'm a big believer in very local, small ecosystems. I'm not in favor of those big, worldwide, global ecosystems. I've got a special keynote that only on ecosystems, where I explain that in more detail. But I think that one of the things that COVID-19 has exposed, and we already knew that, is that global ecosystems, or what we call global ecosystems, are not good for people and planet. And are very vulnerable because they still chains, and in a chain is as strong as the weakest link. So I'm a big believer in very local ecosystems, very small ecosystems. I'm no longer a big believer in large governments as well. I'm a big believer that, and you see that already happening in Europe, that cities become more important than governments, than countries, especially for that reason, because you're closer to the end user, you're more flexible, your impact on people and planet is smaller, you have more control, but it's not about controlling, it's about making it happen, but at the scale that is scalable and that is controllable by itself. If you imply larger ecosystems, I don't call it an ecosystem anymore. Then it becomes something else than an ecosystem. So for me, by definition, it is small and local. But thank you for the question.
Okay, thank you. So Alana has asked, how can freelance translators, i.e. small businesses, make the most of data? And 8 other people were really interested in this question.
Yeah, I know. First of all, you guys, your brain, the moment that the artificial brain is going to match your brain is going to be somewhere in 2042 at the fastest. So as until that moment, your brain is out clevering whatever artificial brain. So if you talk about big data and artificial or intelligence, um, think about how much data you have in your brain and you're processing in your brain all the time. So if I talk about big data and artificial intelligence, still the best example of big data and artificial intelligence is human beings, is what you do. So without knowing it or without being aware of it, but you as a independent translator are in big data and artificial intelligence. It's not artificial intelligence, it's your intelligence, but you're in big data all the time. If you think about, just take my keynote, I've been talking about 40 minutes. If you take my keynote and if you would put that into ones and zeros, there's a bunch of material. And there's a couple of people that have been translating it. So you're already in the big data business. And I think your difference is really in, translating is not just word by word. Translating is also about the context. Again, I've been trained in transformational generic algebra, grammar. You learn that it's all about context. A word is a different word in a different context. So it's also about the culture. It's also about understanding the bigger picture, having an eye for the bigger picture. Again, that is human. That's you.
Thank you. We've got a few, let's say, entries on the Q&A, which are not really questions. And I must say the most popular one, which I do want to feed back to you, is brilliant speaker. 24 people were very, very appreciative of what they've been hearing. So they find you very inspiring. We also have a couple of other, let's say, comments, but that I would like to pass on to you. One of them is, all this seems to confirm that freelancers who know their customers well stand a good chance of survival.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I fully agree. I fully agree. And that's also what large companies claim. The better we know the customer, the more chances we have to survive. And for medium-sized organizations, classical organizations, in most of the cases, that's the problem. They've been focused on their product. They've been focused on their solution. And they are in no way very close to their customers. I know so many companies that say we treat our customers like our best friends. And then you look at their language and they talk about hunting customers. They talk about they're talking about keeping them happy. They're talking about locked-in situations. They're talking about maximizing the lifetime value of a customer. Do you talk about your best friend like that? Not at all. So most companies are really only interested in themselves. If you are really passionately interested in your customer, then your customer will love you by definition.
Interesting. Another highly commented post. There is also a movement of people who refuse to be manipulated to work for large companies for free. And I think that's just a comment that we can probably leave there, but I don't know.
No. I mean, I'm writing another book. So I'm writing this little book about ecosystems, and I'm writing another book, which is a very critical book about what is happening with social media and in social media, and how companies are abusing us as customers to service as their sales and marketing department, and to service as their infrastructure. And the working title for that book is The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. You can do good with social media and with big data. You can do very bad things, and you can do very ugly things. And the number of good things, in the end, I'm a believer that it'll turn to the good. But every new technology, if you look at history, every new technology can be abused as well. And that is exactly what is happening with some of those new technologies. And I'm a big believer that in the end, it'll be us that is going to decide. And I think that in the very near future, and I know a couple of people that are working on that, and even a couple of large companies that are working on that, in the end, the owner of the data will be us. We will be owning our very own data, and we will be capable of saying to a company, you no longer have access to my data because of I don't trust you, you abuse my data. And that's going to happen.
Gosh, well, that's going to be quite a revolution because we're certainly not there yet.
Oh, no. And we know the end game, we know the start, we know the end game. And like always, in between the start and the end game, there will be a couple of fights.
Yeah, I think we're already seeing them starting to happen now. Now, Andrew has sent in a question and he wants to know, how do you see the platform-based future for translation? Lots of niche platforms or one big Uber-style one?
It's combination. I don't believe in the Uber style platforms. Uber started as a platform, but if you look at Uber right now, it's no platform anymore. It's just a classical corporate organization with a very bad culture, even within the organization. I visit Uber quite a lot in San Francisco. For one reason, and that is the base of the company. I still love the basic idea of the company. When you enter the main building, there's a huge wall, and on that huge wall there's a small beer cart, and on that small beer cart is the customer experience. What would the customer experience? That's on a beer cart. That's very simple. That's very feast. And then the rest of the wall is the processes and procedures that Uber needs to perform to make that customer experience happen. And I love that picture. But in the end, Uber is no longer a platform. It's just a corporate organization. Um, so, and yeah, there will be larger platforms, but those larger platforms will be a combination of small platforms. Just like in real ecosystems, no ecosystem in the world is independent from other ecosystems. And the total world is one huge ecosystem that consists of small ecosystems. So it's not a question is it one or the other. It will be and a large ecosystem that consists of small ecosystems.
Okay, thank you. Delia asks or says, I'm fascinated by this ecosystems vision, but does that mean that we are going to move away from a profit-driven idea of working and making business?
Yeah, definitely. Ecosystems are not there to make money. Ecosystems are there for the survival, and that's what you already see, that companies try to focus on the bigger purpose, try to focus on how can we create well-being for people. And in the end, that there will be money is only one of the ways you trade services. And in an ecosystem, it's not only about money, it's also about how do you trade data, how do you trade information, how do you trade time, how do you trade services, that type of stuff. And money is only one element in that. And if you involve your customers, I mean, we participate into a number of ecosystems, and we don't pay to participate in the ecosystem. On the other hand, we're being used in the ecosystem. The very moment we have the feeling that we are being used, that there is a winner and a loser, we quit the ecosystem, and then the ecosystem falls apart. So there will still be money going around, but money will not be the one and only target. And even the World Economic Forum is talking about the big reset. We have to reset the economy as we know it. The economy as we know it is impossible. We are running an economy that's based on constant growth. But how can you grow on a constant basis in a world that is not unlimited? We live in a limited world. We live on a limited planet. So the economic model doesn't function anymore. So we have to go for a new economic model.
Okay, this is a quick. We're coming to the end, believe it or not. But I want to get in two questions. This is a super quick one, though actually people could get the information by watching the recording of this session, which I'll tell you about how to access in a moment. But a number of people want to know the name of that book you were talking about, the mentioned the Geography of Thought.
Yeah, it's an amazing book. I don't have it here; it's downstairs. It's called The Geography of Thought, and it's written by David Nisbet. And David Nisbet is a scientist, so it's a very scientific book about the way the Western mind and the Eastern mind are being structured. And he proves that our minds do have a completely different geography. And that makes the book very interesting. And his conclusion is that now that the world kind of melts down into one global culture, that the two minds might melt together into one new type of geography. It's an amazing book.
Okay, thank you. And last one, and if you could also try and let's say round up for us in your answer on this, because we really are coming to the end. But I really wanted to ask this question because I think it's very interesting. As translators, and the person actually says, or rather linguists, because this was a discussion we had yesterday. I
love the discussion already. Yeah.
Okay. I think it's Andrea who sent it in. No, Alessandro. He asks, it's also not always easy to define who is your customer. The one requesting a translated or localized project, or their own customer end user. And he's saying we probably need to know both. So if you could answer that and give us a conclusion.
Yeah, but in the end, I don't like the terminology end user. It's always the end user. It's always it's always who in the end takes the benefits, and it's always the end user. Your in between is only your channel in between the original thing that you need to translate and the end user. So yeah, you also need to know your customer, of course. But in the end, where you do it for, in my opinion, is the end user.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I think we now have to come to a close. We've certainly touched on a lot of areas in this question and answer session. Thanks for sending all those queries in and voting on other people's questions. And of course, a huge thank you to Rik VERA.
Thank you, guys.
For putting life into a bit of perspective and for opening our minds, preparing us to be pirates and showing us some of the possibilities and opportunities out there.
And may the power of curiosity be with you.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. I don't know how the sign is for the power of curiosity, but thank you.